remember the IRS scandal? You know, the whole point of the IRS scandal was to get the IRS to stop looking into mainly Republican groups, some Democratic groups too, that get dark money in from their donors, contribute to politicians, and they don't want to be found out who they are, how much money they're giving, and the fact that oftentimes they're using charities so they can get tax deductions, but actually using it for political purposes, which is technically illegal. I love that, technically illegal. It's totally illegal, okay? It's not like illegal immigration where the guy is not documented, but it's arguable what kind of a quote-unquote crime it might be. No, this is a crime, right? Now, the whole IRS scandal was nonsense. We've shown it to you 100 times over. They investigated liberal groups just as much as they conservative groups investigated. In fact, they went after liberal groups more often after the investigation, right? But the Republicans did all these hearings. It wasn't because they actually believed the IRS was doing wrong investigations. It was because they believed they were doing the right investigations. And they had to make sure that they stop investigating so that their donors could get a free ride and funnel more money to those same politicians. So, what did the IRS announce today? Mission accomplished. They're going to stop their investigations. So, Time magazine explains, amid ongoing controversy, perfect, over its scrutiny of nonprofits, the Internal Revenue Service has decided it will no longer screen approximately 80% of the organizations seeking tax-exempt charitable status each year. So obviously the IRS isn't going to stop doing audits of all Americans, but what's at issue here was these nonprofits pretending to be charities but doing political donations. 80% of those investigations gone now. Have at it, Hoss. Let's talk about the consequences. Doing away with a review intended to counter fraud and prevent political and other non-charitable groups from misusing the tax code. That was the point of these investigations. Now they're not going to do them, right? 80% of them at least. Now, President of National Association of State Charity Officials. Now, these are the people running the charities. Shouldn't they be happy? No, they're not happy, because now all these scam artists are going to come, and you're not going to know what the real charities are and what the fake charities are, because there's no cops on the beat to tell you who's right and who's wrong, right? So they say the form 1023 Easy, that's the new form that they put out now, will increase opportunity for fraud. Great. Now, of course, that's not good news to anybody in America except Republican and some Democratic politicians who love that fraud funneled their way. Now, there's two different kinds of fraud, by the way. There's the little charities that'll spring up that'll pretend to be in favor of all these good things, but they didn't fill out any real forms. They said as easy as getting a library card. They get all this money and then they'll run. And you won't know if you're contributing to a good cancer fighting cause or one that's a scam. And then the second kind is the one that they really care about, the political kind. So, explanation from Time. Others worry that charities nominally barred from political activity will come to serve the same purpose as the powerful nonprofit organizations known as 501c4s, whose donations cannot be deducted from taxes. So those are the independent expenditures that Citizens United allowed. That's what had all this money flow into our elections, hundreds of millions of dollars in every election cycle to buy off all of our politicians. Now, that was called a 501c4. Now, basically, they're not going to be investigating the 501c3s, which are supposed to be charities, like, hey, curing breast cancer, that kind of thing. No. They're not supposed to do a majority of their activity in political field. Gone. Nobody's checking anymore, so they can do anything they want. This could give an added tax benefit, Time explains, to donors who have recently funneled hundreds of millions of dollars into independent political campaign spending. It has become, in effect, quote, deductible dark money. Great! Not only are they going to use dark money to bribe all of our politicians, and they're going to keep it secret, but on top of that, they're going to get a tax break for it. Perfect Republican scheme. You see what the IRS so-called scandal was about? The real scandal was the scandal. The fact that they created a fake scandal to make sure the IRS didn't do its job. And just in case that wasn't clear enough, they also cut its budget. Time magazine also explains, according to the nonpartisan Government Accountability Office, the overall IRS budget was cut by nearly $950 million, or around 7.8% from 2010 to 2013. Take more of those cops off the beat, and the robbers go nuts. That's the whole point of deductible dark money. And today, those dark forces have another huge victory. Our media should have done a much better job of pointing out what the real point of this nonsense, fake scandal was. As it is, the Fox News of the world, the Republicans of the world, drummed up this controversy and got exactly what they wanted. Only one way to fight back, man. When we get an amendment, 28th Amendment, take money out of politics, we're not going to have a conversation about like, oh, is it deductible? Is it dark money? Is it light money? What kind of money are you using to bribe our politicians? No, there's going to be no bribing of the politicians. If you don't like it, sad day for you. We're coming. wolf-pack.com. Join the fight, man. I mean, look at how out of control this is. They're spitting in your eye. They're like, yeah, we're going to bribe them. We're not going to tell you who's giving the bribes. And on top of that, we're going to pretend we're a charity and get a tax deduction. Are you going to sit there and take it all day long, all year long, all decade long? Or are you going to get up and fight? We're going to take all money out of politics. Public financing, not of just some elections, all elections. Because they work for the people who write their checks. So if we publicly finance the elections, that means, oh my God, that takes taxpayer money. You idiots! They're taking trillions of dollars in tax money. And they're giving it to their donors. At least if we paid the bill and said, okay, here are the guys who collected enough signatures, et cetera, that are going to run against one another, they get an equal amount of money, then at least we'd have a real debate. If conservatives win that debate, great. If liberals win it, great. But let's have a democracy. And if we write their checks, they might actually work for us. Think it through. The second part of the amendment is about corporate personhood. There's some people say, oh my God, Cenk, are you going to take away all corporate personhood? I mean, aren't they at least half human? No, they're not human at all. They have all the rights that they were endowed with by their creator. We are their creator. We give them whatever rights that they have. How insane and out of control is it that the Supreme Court says, no. Corporations, which are legal fictions created by mankind, have natural rights. They have rights like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and you can't mess with them. It's an out of control machine. And every day it gets worse. When are you going to stand up and fight?